Hi everybody, Merlyn Silva here, and today we're going to take a look at FabFilter's awesome filter plugin, Volcano 2. This elegant device is bursting with creative potential and can really transform your sounds with just a few clicks. So after a quick orientation, I'll be showing you how you can turn a simple bass note like this into an iconic dubstep sub-note like this. Volcano 2's detailed modulation options allow you to take any sound and turn it into a percussive line. I'm going to be showing you how you can make some syncopated psychedelic scratches like this. One of my favourite features about Volcano 2 is its ability to run parallel filters in stereo. We're going to be taking a closer look at this feature when we make some rhythmic supersaws like this. Great stuff, so don't forget to jump over to our website after you've watched this video to check out our other tutorials on FabFilter plugins. But for now, let's jump over to the Live 10 timeline and check out Volcano 2. After you see what this plugin can do, I'm sure you're going to want to add it to your library. You can grab Volcano 2 back at the Warp Academy plugin store. I've dropped the direct link in the description below for you. So, before we take a look at some of the things that Volcano 2 is capable of, let's quickly walk through the key features of the plugin. I'm going to use this drum loop to demonstrate. So opening up the plugin, and we're greeted with a wonderfully clear interface. Dragging the filter dots left and right, or up and down, dials in the frequency cutoff and the peak or resonance values respectively. Volcano 2 offers up to 4 filters, and these can be added by clicking on the numbered buttons. Hovering over the link icon of a different filter to the one you have selected will enable you to link the 2 filters by clicking. We can now drag this link dot to move the 2 filters simultaneously. Holding down Shift and clicking on a filter dot will toggle its slope value, which is also possible from the drop-down menu. Holding down Command on a Mac or Control in Windows and clicking a filter dot will toggle between filter responses. Again, these are also selectable from the menu here. The routing menu is a dynamic menu that allows us to decide between different routing possibilities. The most common are selectable from the buttons stereo, left, right, and mid-side. Adding filters expands the routing options, allowing for a huge variety of signal paths. The modulation interface mirrors that of other FabFilter devices, for example Timeless 2. I can choose from the menu of modulation sources, and for now I'll select XLFO. I can now drag and drop the crosshairs icon onto a parameter I want to modulate, in this case the cutoff frequency of both filters. I can use these modulation slots that appear to dial in the amounts and to toggle between positive and negative modulation. Volcano 2 offers a great selection of interesting filter models, selectable from the drop-down menu here. Let's switch these filters from gentle to hard. So far, not much change. That's because these filters start to reveal themselves when driven, similar to analog equipment. At the bottom, I can dial in the input and output volumes. Holding down Option on a Mac or Alt on a PC and moving one will mirror the changes in the other. This is a super handy feature as it allows us to warm up the filters without blowing our ears off. Great, now we're orientated around the plugin, let's see what it can do. So I have a dubstep influenced sketch going on, and I've used Volcano 2 in various ways to create different sounds. In this first example, I've used it with a simple patch from Operator to create an iconic dubstep bass sound. Let's listen to it soloed. Now when I bypass Volcano, we can hear that the starting sound was just a saturated sine note. Switching it back on again. Huge difference. Let's have a closer look at how I achieve this sound. So nothing too complex is happening here. I've simply used an envelope generator to modulate the filter cutoff. This envelope triggers every time the incoming audio reaches the threshold that I've chosen, and adds some movement to the sound. I've dialed in the amount using the modulation slot, finding a sweet spot that's just dirty enough for the sound I have in mind. Next, I've used the velocity of incoming MIDI notes to make subtle changes to the amount of modulation transmitted from the envelope generator. To set this up, I've grouped the instrument that's receiving the track's MIDI notes, so in this case Operator, and I've used an external instrument device to send the MIDI forward into Volcano. You can see that Volcano is receiving MIDI when this light flashes. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, I've driven the input volume hitting the filter, which is set to the easygoing model. The sound changes dramatically when I set the filters to a different model, so for example clean, or extreme. But in this case, I found the easygoing model gave me the sound I wanted. So, next up, I've used Volcano 2 to turn an atonal, noisy sound into some filtered, percussive scratching. Let's have a listen with Volcano 2 bypassed. So in this patch, I've used 2 serial filters and 3 serial XLFO modulators to create the pattern. These first 2 XLFOs are modulating a filter each at different speeds. Let's mute the first one, and the second one, and the sound becomes much simpler. This third XLFO is also modulating filter 1's cutoff frequency and the modulation amount of XLFO 1, creating a polyrhythm between the filter movements. Let's listen again. The device is once again driven at the input stage and gained down at the output stage. And when sound designing, I used this link dot to find the spot that I liked. Let's hear it in context again. So finally, I've used Volcano 2 to create an LFO pattern with this supersaw track. Let's have a listen. And let's bypass Volcano 2. And and then turn it back on again. So, the pattern and the idea is still quite simple. I've used an LFO moving both filters to 16th notes and an envelope generator to add a little bit of attack to the sound. I'll probably render this out to audio and start chopping it up later on. However, at this point, it's a great opportunity to show you a really cool feature in Volcano 2 that we haven't looked at yet. This patch is set to left-right mode, and as you can see from the knob on the far right, I've added some delay to filter 2. This creates a wonderful haas style effect, bringing a lot of stereo width to the sound. This is a really creative feature that would otherwise be quite complicated to set up using other devices. Great, let's hear it again in the context of the track. Just before we finish off for today, I'd like to invite you to join the community by hitting subscribe and activating notifications. That way you won't miss a beat and you'll get the heads up on all the things as soon as we post them. Yeah.